Well, this is my Dillon 650 XL with a case feeder up top and a bullet feeder on the left. The hollow points I'm using, they don't really turn very well in here. They seem to feed, when this thing's spinning, they seem to feed upside down more often than not. So what I've been doing is I just been dropping them in by hand right here. But for the purposes of the video, it should be no problem, so you can see how everything works. The way it works, up here, this has a bunch of brass in top. When it turns, the brass is automatically inlined and dropped into the tube here. And then as the press cycles, it drops in a new brass like this one right here every time the press cycles. When right after it's put in, it goes up and gets resized by die number 1. After that, the whole tray here will turn, and then it'll then be in this position here, where this tube here is stacked full of primers. This is a device that automatically buzzes once the primers low up. Tells me that I'm out of primers. Kind of pointless to load bullets that won't go bang when the hammer hits the pin to hit the primer. So this will then go up. This is the powder slide here. Powder slide has been adjusted. This is all gunpowder in here, and this will slide, and then that's what makes the powder drop. It goes into the case, and then it comes back down and gets cycled back over to this side. Goes up into here. This device here has a setting on it where I can pick how deep and how high the powder needs to be. Otherwise, the noise you get will be that. So what this is doing is checking that the powder is the appropriate height. And so you never have a load that doesn't have any powder or has a double charge in it. You don't want your gun to explode in your face, and you also want your bullets to shoot when you pull the trigger. From there, it cycles over to this station here, which is a part of the bullet feed tube, which I said I was having problems with just because the flat on these hollow points is so tapered. It's so flat on the front point there that they will catch like this, and then they'll feed and they'll drop upside down, and then we don't want to feed bullets in upside down. So I've been putting them in by hand. The next pot would be here, the last stage, where now the bullet has been put on. It cycles over. This last die, cedar die, pushes the bullet into the casing the correct depth, and then it squeezes the brass, because during the powder stage it flares it. The brass goes whoosh, and then that makes it easy for the bullet to be pressed in. This case is flared, this case is flared, this case is flared. As it goes in, the bullet gets pressed down, and then the brass gets unflared and gets crimped around the bullet here. When it drops, the bullet drops down the chute back there and drops into my pile. So let's load a few. I'll try to hold this camera as steady as possible. Goes up and down. And that is how the Dillon 650 XL works. Next video I take, I'll synchronize the bullet feeder so that everything feeds in continuously, and you can see how it's completely autonomous other than the handle on the side, which you can buy a machine for that'll run the handle. But why do that if you have to stand there anyway to make sure that the press doesn't screw up? Thanks, Mom and Dad. Good Christmas present. Helped me get off center. I knew if I got a couple of the pieces for Christmas, I'd save up and pick up the rest of the machine myself. I'm loading a lot of rounds, and it's been great.